Hello, my name is Kyle Steele. I'm a candidate for Norman City Council, Ward 6 in the upcoming election cycle. And this is the summary for the Business and Community Affairs Committee that happened on January 7th, as well as the summary for the Oversight Committee meeting that happened on the 8th. I'm combining these two meetings into one summary because they were both very short, all things considered. Both meetings, when put together, only lasted about an hour and 15 minutes, so it just makes sense to do one video. And the Business and Community Affairs meeting, it was only discussed about future code development regulations. This is a continued conversation from December. If you're wanting to see the specifics of that conversation, I have a summary down below. The bottom line for this meeting is that instead of the city council kind of dictating what minimum requirements should be in terms of like frontages, lot sizes, things of that nature, instead they are going to look into a consultant to recommend changes because of the kind of legal definitions and ramifications that might be happening. Essentially, it's a bit more complicated than just city council, changing some numbers and some words around, and an outside consultant group to recommend a language is the way they want to move forward. In essence, this could be a multi-year process, and this meeting was just kind of an understand on what the current priorities are for the consultants to work on in terms of language they need to look at or change. Currently, the priorities that were dictated today, were on reducing or eliminating entirely the minimum lot size and seeing what requirements in the regulations could be changed to just recommendations instead. The goal of all this is to relieve some administrative hurdles and ultimately make a development easier and cheaper by reducing the need for city council to have to approve certain changes or things like, spuds or PUDs, things like that. And ultimately, the goal is the free market can then decide what to build and develop, as opposed to having to base it on regulations that, may be starting to get a little bit outdated. For the Oversight Committee, the first item that was discussed was amending the AIM-Norman residential and urban reserve language. This was brought up specifically because there are some concerns in Ward 5. Basically, there are some people out there who own large amounts of acreage and they're wanting to subdivide that acreage to the next generation of their family. However, current regulations are making it hard to do it because of the minimum acreage size needed for the type of zoning that they're in. Essentially, the recommendation is that they reduce the requirements for the minimum acreage for these rural areas, and there is broad support for this, and it looks like it's going to be moving forward and passed shortly in some form. The second item was an update for the AIM-Norman map to include an OTA proposed Turnpike alignment. Current AIM-Norman map doesn't have it. Once again, there's broad support for this just because of clarification reasons, and it's going to be moving forward. The final item was regarding possible ways to increase public feedback on TIFs. The problem that was essentially brought up is that for a lot of the public comment sections on the TIF process, this tends to happen towards the end of the process once a lot of the TIF regulations are put in place, and so it can make it harder for changes to happen based off of public feedback. This overall TIF process with like the TIF master plan and how the TIFs ultimately get approved is considered very important because of potential TIFs that are on the horizon in other parts of the city, as well as the recent experience that a lot of people are having with the arena and entertainment district TIF. A lot of people, or some council members rather, express that they're hearing a lot about it when they are knocking on doors. As an aside, as a Ward 6 candidate, I'm hearing similar concerns. So this is definitely a conversation that needs to happen. The consensus from this topic point was that this is something that will need to be continued to be explored, especially since there is a lot of public feedback that is being gathered or expected to be gathered through general election related conversations. And it's planned to bring this item back up again during the March Oversight Committee meeting. So with that, as I stated, these two meetings ended after a combined total of approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about me or my campaign, don't hesitate to reach out to me at KyleForNorman@gmail.com, linked below. Thank you. Have a good day.